Football has its ups and downs. You can't win every match, but you can win every bet. Start your free trial and earn £30 risk-free today at oddswatchdog.co.uk.
Hello and welcome to the Gooner Ramble podcast. I'm your host Giles, and joining me today are regulars. Warren, how you doing, mate? You all right?
Hello, mate. Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Good stuff. Did you go up to Stoke yesterday?
I didn't. I worked my whole birthday weekend like a loser, and I lost faith in this season a while ago, and I kept myself going. But I think Stoke was one step too far, and Southampton as well. But it turns out I should never ever go. We've won 2 in a week, so it would just give up.
It would just be your luck, innit? The one time you don't go to Stoke is the one time we actually wallop them.
Exactly.
Cleanies, isn't it? And we've also got Dave. How you doing, mate? You all right?
Yeah, very good, thank you, Giles.
I heard you've done a little bit of your Rick Steen impression today and made a fish pie for the wife and whoever else was there. How did it go down? You must have woofed it down because it was only 20 minutes ago.
I woofed it down especially for you, Giles. So it was very nice, thank you.
Good man. And finally, last but not least, the man I call Coach.
Stop it.
With the dulcet tones. He's back. It's Clive. How you doing, mate? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good. Looking forward to discussing the new Arsenal 3 at the back.
Indeed. All right, then let's kick it off. Warren, I'm going to start with you. First of all, not really many changes in the lineup, but Wenger did say in the midweek that, or in the presser on, the pre-match presser, that what changes there would be decided because of the history of injuries and so on and so forth. So there were three changes in particular. What did you make of the Coquelin change, and how do you think it benefited the team?
Yeah, see, I love hindsight because now I can sit here and say I was losing the plot before the game. But do you know what? It's funny because it is really, really funny what a bit of shape and what a bit of know-how can do for every single individual player. And clearly he's got a job to do to manage Aaron Ramsey's fitness, and he's got a job to do to manage people like Danny Welbeck's fitness. And Coquelin coming in, from what we've seen of him in a more advanced role this season, I felt that he wins position well higher, but often we lack that sort of the ability to make the transition go smoothly between sort of our Ozils up the top and sort of someone deeper. And we've often had a bit of a change. And I actually thought Coquelin was very, very good, and I felt it benefited the team, and I felt he was making lots of intelligent runs on. It was almost like he had completely changed what kind of a footballer he was, and it just all for me stems from having Granit Xhaka sat there in front of the back four, having a staggered man in front of him, and Coquelin was actually that link, and I thought he had a very, very good game. And obviously, when I see the team, I'm thinking, right, okay, we're playing 5 defenders, and we've got 2 defensive midfielders, and we're away at Stoke, and I was thinking, bloody hell, I'm a bit panicked here, but I couldn't have been any more wrong, could I, to be honest with you?
Clive, coming over to you, Warren said that, he was panicked, he was a bit worried before the game when he saw the lineup, but, looking at it, the way we set out and the way we played. I mean, there was a lot more cohesiveness. It's as if these 7 games. This is the 7th game, 7th time lucky. The team looked a lot more together, a lot more cohesive. Everyone seemed to know their positions, and it seemed to work a treat. How did you see it?
Well, it's interesting on Coquelin. Let's go back to that. Mm-hmm. Obviously, when he was named, we've all our minds sort of sparked back to the clueless kid who can't get involved in the build-up play. We've wondered if he's a one-trick pony, only can play alongside Sandy, otherwise he's a dead body to us. Why are we giving him a contract, blah, 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 blah. But actually, again, going back to the back 3, what we've done is we've taken the one thing away from him that he's not very good at, which is build-up play. Because we have 3 defenders that fill a wide space going across the pitch that actually all come from the ball. So they share the build-up play. So when Xhaka goes one side, one of the right side, say he goes left, the right side defender, say be holding, he's there for the build-up. So he comes and makes a triangle on the other side, and he connects out to Bellerin. So Coquelin's now in the middle of his pitch thinking, this is great. I've got no stress if Xhaka gets man marked, it doesn't matter because we've got 3 defenders behind who are all good in the ball, and they can bring the ball forward, and they can find Erdl, they can punch it out to the wing backs. And then, of course, with the space and the pitch being bigger, what happens is that Xhaka's got more room, so he sits in deeper, so he's in a non-contact game. So I see Coquelin's thinking, wow, fantastic. Well, I can sit just in front of here. I can run around the pitch detonating things, getting the ball back, touching it off quickly and just recycling and moving. And so he doesn't have to receive the ball with his wing mirrors on the half turn, which he's not comfortable with. So he felt completely liberated. And again, it comes back to the back 3 and having the 3 of them being decent footballers have taken the stress away from him on the ball, allowed him to do a lot more off the ball. And what happened was his confidence on the ball then grew, and he had a very good all-round game. And I think he's put a lot of doubts and thoughts into the manager's mind for a potential cup final team.
Dave, your take on the lineup and the significance of having Coquelin in there on Saturday.
I didn't think as deeply about it as my 2 colleagues, to be honest, but I really just think it was a case of resting Ramsey as was intimated. Yeah. But he did have a very good game, and also I'm not one of the people who doubts Coquelin. I'm a bit of a fan, so I thought, it was lovely to see. It does give the manager. I don't think it gives the manager any cause for change going forward. I don't think he will start the FA Cup final, but it's just lovely to have the reassurance that Coquelin can come in and play in this new formation. He hasn't had many minutes in it, so it's just a fantastic situation to have. You've got to feel sorry for El Neni, of course, who, I don't think he's taken his tracksuit off for about 6 weeks, but good for Coquelin. And I do reiterate, I would reiterate what Clive says, it's not just the back 3, it's Rob Holding. It's just Rob Holding. He's even more of a ball player than the other 2. I thought what was very interesting for me, and we might discuss it further, is when Koscielny came back, who was going to play in which of the 3 positions. And I think Mustafi being in the centre of the 3, with Koscielny back, and obviously he was there on Tuesday. I was at the St Mary's on Tuesday. Mustafi, having not had much football, had a very good game in the centre. But I wondered what would happen when Koscielny came back, who had been playing the central position of the 3. I think having Mustafi deepest of the 3 in the centre, it avoided that sort of the rushes of blood, the coming out of position, the jumping too early, all the stuff that we were starting to have doubts about with Mustafi in the back 2. Just seemed to disappear in a back 3, and I think he's right to be in the central position because Koscielny and Holding, as Clive referred to, are the 2 more ball players, and it just gives us so much solidity, I think, and so much reassurance for the midfield players.
Would you have put Mustafi in the centre of those 3? Because it was quite revelatory, wasn't it? Really,
I would never have guessed that. I'm just written about it actually for my column tomorrow, but I never would have guessed it. But I liked it.
I don't want to be a know-it-all, but I actually did predict that one, and the reason why, he's a communicator. The other 2 are quite silent. One because he's very, very young, and Koscielny because that's just the way he is. He looks after himself. He does everyone's jobs, but he doesn't communicate. Mustafi's like a flammy pointer and shouter, and I felt that he needed to be in the centre because I just feel he'll boss the other 2 around, tell them where to stand, tell them when to press, tell them when to switch out wide, and I actually think it really suits him being in the middle. Because also on the first ball, a straight ball, the other 2 are more physical in the air. I know he's good in the air, but he's only 5'10", so that's not his primary job. So in the air, he's not the first ball guy. He's the second ball guy, and he reads that very, very well.
But also, go on, sorry,
mate, the last little bit, like David Luiz, what he does do, he does press out. He presses out, and he does tear through people every now and again. And that's no bad thing. That's no bad thing, but he's not doing it all the time because he has a responsibility to cover around the other 2.
He was doing it too much before. He was doing it fast.
Yeah, he was. He was just tearing through people and he's a blown up fullback, right? So putting him back there actually allows him to get his number 1 attribute out, in my opinion, which is he's a shouter. He's a communicator, and we've lacked a voice back there for quite a while.
Just briefly, he does seem to, when there is a straight ball over the top, he does seem to sort of attack it more often than others. Yesterday there was one incident, I think just before they scored actually, he came to attack the ball. I think he got up above, it might have been Diouf or someone, or I don't know who it was, and then they obviously went up and got the handball goal, which we'll come to. But I want to ask you all, a lot of analysts this week have said that have come up with this XG, whatever it was, I don't know, some kind of explanation saying that, it wasn't, the change in formation had nothing to do with our, it didn't actually benefit us in such, even though we were undefeated. It was really mainly just Czech's brilliance between the six sticks that has sort of like kept us undefeated in 5 of the 6 games. And to my mind, it seemed like they were saying that the three at the back was simply a placebo effect. It was a mind trick. There's no sort of cohesion, no visible cohesion. And we were pretty lucky. And the XG would say to us, would the XG trend was that if we don't rectify it, we're either going to, concede more, and, the run would be over. I want to start with you, how do you think, the change in formation did you think it benefited us? Did it look to you, when you look at with your plain eyes, did it look to you as if there was more protection, there was more stability within the defense? Or do you just think, as some of the analysts were saying, it's a mind trick and it's basically Peter Cech that is sort of like, kept us in the chase for fourth, if you want?
It's funny, G, because I'm sat here listening to Clive and listening to Dave wax lyrical about how protected everyone is, and I'm smiling. I'm smiling because for the first time in a long time, I'm seeing players playing to their strengths. I'm seeing players' weaknesses being dispelled by having an actual team and an actual balance and actual shape. And this XG, it's a way of analysing, and it's a statistic, and you can't throw it out of water because maybe it isn't sustainable over a period of time. But it's only the first 7 games we played this formation, and every game that goes on, we're seeing individuals, not just starting 11 individuals, we're seeing all sorts of players actually benefit from this. And the heartbreaking thing for me is that we've seen an entire season of absolute shite. I'm sorry, we have. It's been terrible. It's been absolutely terrible. Every player has been hung out to dry. We've been disgraceful for most parts of it. We really have been lucky to even be in rush out of top 4. We stumbled our way to an FA Cup final. Europe obviously was a joke, but for the first time, and it seems to be since I've not been attending as many games, we are looking good. And it's going to be an interesting 2 games rolling into the Chelsea match, because if we can keep it up with this back 3 and players are looking more and more comfortable, and Ox has been fantastic, and I was gutted about his injury, but then Bellerin's come in, 2 assists. He looks like he hasn't even left the team, and a man who's been struggling for form for ages. You could go through every man in that team, and they're all benefiting from what is happening. And we're talking about Mustafi being the leader, and that guy has been slated for his first season. Granit Xhaka, as people are going, it's the worst buy in the league, which is absolute rubbish. I mean, he's starting to look the part. Every single man is benefiting, and all we ask for Arsenal, and it should be the very least of a very, very top club like us, is that you've got a plan, you've got an identity, you've got a way of playing, and you implement that. And even the worst teams in the league have got that, and that's how they try and survive. And they've got different ways of playing, but we're Arsenal, man. We've got top players, and we're starting to see Alexis and Ozil get closer together again and flourish. And it's exciting, but it's frustrating more than anything, because it's been such a poor season. But had this change happened at the start of the season, I don't know. And I don't know what's forced this change to happen, but everyone's benefiting. And it does make me smile when we can sit here and enjoy our football again and actually buy into the idea of what we're seeing on the pitch. But is it too little too late? I don't know.
You were quite against it at outset though, weren't you?
I was, Dave. I was massively against it. And I'll tell you why, because I felt it was more of a move of desperation from Arsenal's part, due to the way we've been playing throughout the season. I don't think this late in the game you can say it was a calculated change, because surely that would have happened a long, long time ago. And I think for me, going forward, if we do want to continue with this, we have to stick to it, and we have to recruit. And obviously by the sounds of the Kolanasic signing, we are recruiting towards playing with the advanced wing backs and the 3 centre backs. And funnily enough, the squad we've got, the more and more you see us play, the more and more you sort of understand that it does suit a lot of our players. And I don't know, I just think
I thought that was the strangest thing, because I've written loads of times that our squad suited it, and every time I said it, people said, "No, we don't. You're an idiot, Dave. We haven't got the players to play 3 at the back." And I thought, I didn't understand why people thought that. But we have.
Don't you think though it shows that it's showing that we can be dexterous. We can now be flexible within games, coming into games, we're not just forced, we don't stick to the rigid 4-2-3-1 and then change to 4-4-2 when we're desperately trying to, get a goal back. We're actually going into games now, and Wenger's, whether it's desperation or genius or whatever you want to call it, we've found another way of playing, which we've all been desperately crying out for. Would you agree with that, Clive?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we all look at other teams and we look at them changing formations within games and for different games. And we yearn from our manager to really approach a game based on the opposition that you're going to play. So you often hear me talk about respecting the opposition. I don't think we respect the opposition enough. We don't try and nullify them first and then play. So what we try to do is we turn up in our lovely tracksuits and we say, we're the Arsenal, we're coming to play. And on other teams look and say, you know what, you're not set up right. We're going to smash into you. The referee's going to let us get away with it, and away we go. So, when I saw this formation, I never called it, actually. I never felt he'd ever go through it at the back. I always, Dave, you well know.
No, I didn't know. I didn't think he'd do it, but I certainly thought we had the players to do it.
I never thought he'd do it, so I just wiped it from my mind. So I really did focus on the vulnerability we had in the centre of our pitch, and I wanted to have 3 in midfield, maybe remove a number 10, and really get our structure that way. But when he went 3 at the back, I thought, bang, bingo, this is the one. And the reason why is because Arsenal, this team, he calls us mentally strong, which we're not, but we're quite emotional. And we're an emotional team. And what this has done is taken some of the emotion out of our game, added a level of pragmatism. And that's well overdue. Whether it's the coach in me or not, I feel we are far too open as a team, far too easy to pick off. And just like when we beat Chelsea and they sorted themselves out, I think the humiliation of Palace and basically Big Sam telling us exactly how easy it was to beat us, wait for our fullbacks to go high and wide, kick it forward into one of the channels, normally the right back channel because he's further up the pitch. And what we do is we fill the space around Xhaka. We go into a running race. We get the second ball and we go recycle from there. Either get a restart or we swing it into the box and we challenge them. Our defenders have to be Baresi, Maldini, all in one to stop them, which they can't do. They can't do it consistently, and we started to concede goals. So all he's done, he's put an extra defender in, and emotionally now, everyone's got an armchair behind him. Xhaka's got an armchair behind him. He's got 3 people around him that makes him feel comfortable. So when they go past him, he's not panicking. He's not taking people out. He's not going into wide areas behind fullbacks. Look where he got sent off, right by the touchline. What's he doing out there? I'm annoyed. It's taken so long. I'm annoyed I never thought of it. I wish I did. But I'm annoyed it's taken so long, right? So, we've spoken before many times about one of your favourite sayings, retention of width, right? Theo Walcott, retention of width. We never thought we could get that from our fullbacks.
It's mad.
Yeah, and now look at our fullbacks. The 2 best players yesterday were our 2 wing-backs. They were absolutely outstanding. Look at their position. High, wide.
Yeah, hugging that touchline.
Chalk on boots. That's stretching teams. When they get the ball, they can combine short, they can wall pass, they can burst in behind. Monreal's, he's getting in the box. I mean, Bellerin had more touches in the box than any other player. I mean, so we talk about retention of width. So what's he's done now? We squeeze Ozil and Sanchez inside. They're not tracking fullbacks. They're inside facing the goal. Oh, suddenly we're getting 1-2s and we're scoring goals. I mean, it is all about the system suiting the players. And my man Ramsey, who I'm not a fan of, how good did he look when he came on yesterday behind the striker? Yeah. I mean, it was incredible how powerful he looked, how dynamic he looked, how instant decisions
how free and liberated he looked.
He looked free, and you can't track him. You can't track him with a GPS, right? He's gone, bang, bang, in down the sides. Yeah. And if he took his shot sooner and stopped dilly-dally, he'd have scored yesterday. As soon as he makes instant decisions, things happen for him. The moment he starts to think, then it goes away. But, so players that we've debated about and we love and we hate, suddenly all fancy it. And I always think the players tell you when something's working and when it's not.
Clive, what do you think, though, about the analysts saying, the analytic community saying that it was a placebo effect going into this 3-man or the 5-man back lineup, that we've conceded more goals I mean, we've conceded more
chances.
Yeah, even though we've conceded less goals. And if the trend continues, we're going to end up losing, basically. What did you say to that? What did you think when you saw that? Or if you did see it?
Well, I did see it, and we still concede too many shots. And what's touched on it, we have to, what we're doing at the moment, we're stopping teams with the goalkeeper and the back three. And because the teams we're playing are not strong at the moment, apart from City, which was a great performance, we need to be stopping people higher up. So we have to decide what type of midfielder we want. Because with Chelsea, they don't let too many people onto their back three. They stop them with Kante.
Yeah.
We tend to think offensively from that position. And this is what we have to think about now. I really hope we invest in this formation, and I really hope we upgrade from within it. And it's not about my personal favourites around that centre midfield, I'm talking about, but there's a day for certain profile of players, and there's a day for other profile of players. And I was really pleased to see he make some changes yesterday, and I actually did call for Ramsey to be rested because I didn't want him to go down like the Orcs, and they've both got a record of not being able to sustain multiple games on the trot. The Orcs went down, and I thought, Ramsey's due a hamstring at any minute. We know what he's like, right? So take him out, rest him, bring him back, and we need him for the cup final or at Wembley. We need him, right? So let's make sure he's there, right? So I think we need to think about that profile of player for tough away games up north. As someone, I'm not saying he should play, but maybe someone like Maitland-Niles in a couple of years' time is exactly the profile of player we need for those tougher games for the first hour, and then we go from there and we build from that performance. But like I say, I'm a pragmatist, right? And not everyone will agree with me.
You know what? Just before we move on to the actual game itself, I do think that although they had a point about the XG and what it doesn't tell you, is it doesn't give you an intuition. We've actually made that game yesterday was our fifth change in 7 games in our back five. Coquelin and Xhaka haven't played too many games together, so it doesn't tell you about the other stuff around possible reasons why we probably were conceding a lot of shots on goal.
I think maybe a lot of that was maybe walked by Spurs, right? Who really had a smash. Yeah. They have a smash. Spurs shoot from everywhere and anywhere, right? The quality of some of those shots are not great, but they do hit target a lot, right? So, the trend this season has been, we've been the 6th or 7th worst for shots on targets against us. So we are like the 6th, I think we are. And so it's not great. So it's been a trend, and I'd like to see, I want to see how this goes when we develop on this formation, I hope into next season.
Okay, so let's talk about the game itself. Was strong start, going up to Mordor had to be a strong start. We all too often we're quite tentative. We're taken, but the occasion gets the better of us. The moment is too big for us. But we started really strong, didn't we? We set our foot forward and we started with really good initiative. Yeah.
Well, we've all been there ourselves, and you go there's 25,000 cavemen bearing down on the pitch around. Do you know what I mean? It literally is like that. The wind's blasting in from the side. It's a proper occasion. That is why they come up with the cliche. You can't do it on a cold night in Stoke, because it genuinely is like that. And they love playing us. They absolutely love it. Every time we roll into town, they laugh their heads off. They love it. They want to see how many kicks they can get on us. They want to see how many times Wenger can stand up and wave his arms. They absolutely love playing Arsenal. And do you know what? We turned up and all of a sudden they haven't faced an Arsenal that have played with 3 at the back before. And I think it took them a bit by surprise. Monreal was getting so much joy down that left. Like Clive said, he was such an outlet, and we kept. I find it interesting with, for the first time I actually noticed, and I thought that, Alexis and Ozil kept swapping and they were getting close to their fullbacks, and the double up there caused a lot of problems, and then it allows the spring in behind, and Monreal was very unlucky with his header, and he had another one when he got in behind and his touch was just off, but we were a constant danger, and obviously the corner from a Mustafi header, and we were creating chances. And when I saw that team, I thought, bloody hell, we're going to be in trouble here. We ain't got no creative spark from deep. We're going to be in a bit of trouble. It was complete opposite, and we started really like a house on fire, and we were unlucky not to be in front. And I also felt we looked very solid, and every time someone got the ball, there was someone close to him. Every time they got the ball, we had 2 players near them, and it's just a really, really nice way to see us playing football. So yeah, it was a cracking start, and we definitely deserve to be in front.
Dave, the first goal, talk us through it. What did you reckon? How did you?
Remind me, which was the first goal?
The first goal was
Bellerin Giroud.
Yep.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Well, we can talk about it further, but I think when you look ahead to the cup final and future games, that position is definitely up for grabs. You know, it's a 2-horse race, and I wouldn't care to call it. But Bellerin, I would have said 2 or 3 weeks ago, would be second, choice right now, because offensively he doesn't have the creativity and the accuracy that the Ox has. But yesterday, and to a degree when he came on Tuesday, I started to see that, because it's always been a flaw in Bellerin's game that he gets into such good positions and then his final pass is just so often a letdown. It hits the first man, goes too far. Yeah, but it was fantastic to see. Great to see a lovely through ball from Coquelin, of course, but no, it was a perfect slide rule pass. But again, Giroud does that very well, doesn't he? He doesn't provide the mobility and he doesn't pull defenders around as much, but, the amount of near post or getting in front of the defender goals he scored for us out of his 4 or 5 seasons is phenomenal. I should imagine he's probably scored more goals like that than he scored with his head, to be honest. And he just finds that space. He comes alive in that 6-yard box. So no, it was a lovely goal. But I was just getting a little bit nervy because we deserved it so much earlier than we got the goal. And with Arsenal, you always get a bit worried when they don't get the goal in the first half when they deserved it, that how they're going to come out in the second half. So I think it was a very important time to score more than anything, as well.
Clive, Bellerin, I think if I said to you that I think Oxlade-Chamberlain's really brought him back to form, Oxlade-Chamberlain's form has improved Bellerin's form subsequently. Would you agree? I mean, we're seeing now in this game and the Southampton game, he's looked a different player, hasn't he?
Yeah, I never doubted him. I never doubted him for a second. I went to, I think, Crystal Palace at home game, and I was sitting low down. I watched him closely. My son's a fullback, so I watched right backs a lot. I thought he was absolutely brilliant. I think he's physically excellent. I think he may have spent, with his injury, maybe done a few too many shoulder weights. But apart from that, if we can keep him out of the gym, I think he'll be fine. I think he's top class. His position really suits him, and I'm not one that thinks that's Oxlade-Chamberlain's position every single game. I think Oxlade-Chamberlain is still, for me, to centre midfielder, and I think he'll end up there. I think the way he's built means that I don't think he can do repeat runs consistently. I have a theory on this. I have, as you would expect, right? I call it, you have big space players and you have small space players. Your big space players, like Bellerin, should be at the extremities of your team. They should be on the outside. So someone like Koscielny, happy in the big space, right? Someone like Mustafi, he likes crowd scenes. So put in the middle of a 3 suits him. Rob Holding, quite rangy, happy in the big space, happy in wide open areas. Monreal, a big space player. So what we have on the extremities of our team are our real comfortable in wide areas, comfortable in wide spaces. Danny Welbeck, another one, at the extremity, wants to run big. I still think Ox has got a certain level of escapability like Santi has. I think he can do big space. I think he can do small space. And I think what we've found from this formation is we're getting people in the space areas they want to be, where they can really thrive. I think Bellerin is a super athlete, and if you put him on the wide spaces of Wembley, he's going to be very hard to stop. I think his potential's not even, I don't think it's 6% to where he could actually end up being. He's very young for a fullback. Very young.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Let's take a vote now then. If they're both fit, who do we all think is going to start in the right wing back position at Wembley? I think Oxlade-Chamberlain will start.
I think he may do. I've got another theory.
No, so there's 2 answers here, Clive. It's just
I think it depends. It depends on his fitness. I think the Ox is the one at the moment, and I think in the wide space of Wembley, and we want to. It depends how you want to play. Do you want to defend them or do you want to attack them? I think Bellerin is slightly better defensively, so I think.
Why use one word when 50 would do?
Yeah, I'm sorry, mate. Cause I've got my cup final thoughts, right? And I can't get them out of my head, right? And so I have a team in my head, and
Giles,
it just depends how we want to play.
Yeah, I think I would go with Ox simply because his deliveries. But I know the things I say that but I know full well that I think Bellerin's scored. I think he's got the most assists from a defender or wing back in the league this season. I think he's got 8 now. Clearly out on head and shoulders above anybody else. But I think in this formation, his power, he's a bit more powerful. The delivery, the end product there's a little bit more there's a bit more variation to his. I was watching the game on Tuesday, on Wednesday. Was it Wednesday? We went down to Southampton, Dave. And the thing about Bellerin's delivery is it's not really varied enough. I think that's the reason why Alexis had a go at him, because he just gets down and he kind of just puts it in. He doesn't look. He's not looking at where,
Ox does always look up.
Always looks up. Exactly. Yeah. Even if it's just into a general, he's going to put it into an area where his players are more likely to get it. And I think that's where Bellerin can be a bit more polished. And so for that, I think, I would go with the Ox. But it's a toss up. I don't know about you, Was?
I think it's a stick or twist. I do think if Ox is fit, he's 100% earned his right to stay in the team, but unfortunately his injuries put him out. And if Bellerin continues his vein of form and then the next 2 games continues, you'd have to suggest to assist him. You'd have to say, well, how can you drop Bellerin? And it's a nice problem to have. But like you've both said, I think Ox's delivery has improved tenfold this season, and especially of late, since in that right wing back area where he's a lot of the time Ozil is occupying the fullback, so he has got the time and the space to look up and deliver. Whereas before he was always rushed, and he was so it's helped him a lot, and he really has benefited from it, and he's improved. But yeah, I mean, it's such a tough one, and it's a brilliant problem to have. I just think I think if you want to go at Ox, if Bellerin can attack, but if you want to be a bit more defensive, sort of say, and set up a bit more solid, I'll probably go with Bellerin. But yeah, the other factor.
So I think the other factor I think has influenced it is the decision to play Holding on the right rather than Gabriel, because Gabriel's now seems to have dropped out of it. If I was playing Gabriel, I'd rather see Bellerin there in the defensive situation, but I feel more confident with Holding on the right of the 3 than I did with Gabriel. Gabriel's put some great challenges, some great last-ditch challenges, but I don't want a defender who's going to have to make last-ditch challenges. I want the defender who's going to read the game, and I think if Holding's on the right, that's me more reassurance to have the more attacking of the 2. As well.
It's funny. I mean, I agree. I mean, I think for me, the back 3 is, we're depending on where you put them, it's Holding, it's Mustafi, it's Koscielny. But looking at the 7 games, Gabriel's only had 1 poor game, and that was Tottenham.
He hasn't had a poor game, but I'm just saying he seems to have made that decision now.
Yeah.
You've got to feel a little bit sorry for Kieran Gibbs. He didn't do a lot wrong in the games he played, but as soon as Mustafi's fit, But I mean,
it makes sense.
He's put Nacho back out there.
Yeah, it makes sense. Nacho's been good as a left defender. We've seen him excel, emancipated as a left wing back. I mean, so for me, that's not really even the decision. Second goal was, talk us through it.
Yeah, I know we've already checked it. I just want to quickly say on the first goal that I thought Granit Xhaka, we're talking about getting players in the spaces they want to be in. Mate, that geezer stood there, 15 yards of space, head up. Coquelin is a stagger. What a ball from Coquelin. Bellerin explodes in behind. And Giroud's movement, it was, do you know what? It's quite funny watching it because he was stuck to Shawcross, side by side, sprinting to that near post. Shawcross knows that Giroud always does it. Just takes a little step back. It's such a slight move, but it allows him to have the time. And it sounds stupid because it's such a split-second thing. But if he had continued near post, his finish becomes a lot more difficult. But Shawcross thought he was going. Giroud just steps off. See you later, Ryan. And he's got the tap in. And it was such a brilliant goal, wasn't it? It was beautiful. But yeah the second goal, I mean, we scored some fantastic goals. But I mean, that is just brilliant to see, isn't it? It really, really was a proper footballing goal. And we're getting Ozil and Sanchez close to each other. They're both deep. Ozil knows where his man is. He's got a little no-look pass. Alexis is then in a space, and it's it's the way we've set up that allows him to be in that space. Again, he stood still on the ball for a few seconds, and Ozil's on his bike. He is gone. He's completely gone, and you think, bloody hell, go on, Mesut, and their man don't track him. He gets inside Johnson, and the pass is out of this world. Unbelievable weight of the pass. Mesut Ozil's first touch is sensational. That is so underrated. That little slight touch to set himself, before the keeper commits. Ozil's cool as you like. What a dink into the far corner, and he goes and celebrates in front of the fans. And what a beautiful goal! That is the kind of goal that we associate Arsenal Football Club with, and that is the identity that we've had for years that we haven't seen anywhere near enough of recently. And when you've got your two best players, your two world-class players doing two world-class things, that is what you want to see. And I absolutely loved that goal. And I just want to see more of it, mate, because I'm hungry as a fan. But
it's funny, actually. I think we've all been saying all year, since the turn of the year when he changed it, we wanted to see Alexis back up top. We want to see Alexis back up top. Even when Welbeck's been in the side, we want to see Alexis up top. Mm-hmm. And yet, Alexis can be so wasteful in possession, but it's normally when he's going sideways or he's trying to worldie across the pitch. He's very rarely wasteful in possession when he's passing forwards. And when he's passing through people, I mean, since he's been playing in that sort of, if you like, the double 10 role with Ozil, whoever's ahead of him, whoever's running beyond him, his through balls the last 2 or 3 games. I mean, we haven't scored off all of them, but some of the vision he showed, and I just don't associate Alexis with like vision in his passing in the same way that you would with Ozil. But the last few games, some of the through balls have been absolutely fantastic. So I'm sort of now converted to the idea of having those two as the two behind whoever he chooses to be the striker. Which I didn't think I would be a few weeks ago.
You make a great point. I mean, for me, I know Alexis is so frustrating. He's so infuriating. He does waste the ball. There's a lot of wasted possession with him. You got it. It just comes with the territory. But it's, he's the one man. Him and Ramsey are the two players for me that, when we're stuck in the arc of boredom, that crab-like playing, it's those two that take the high risk chances. They make the high risk decisions. I'm going to try and thread this ball through, the eye of a needle. Sometimes it comes off and sometimes it doesn't, but it's those two. And Alexis especially, who's prepared to back himself. And obviously he trusts his teammate that they'll do the rest once he gets the ball to him. I mean, Clive,
but they're high risk and they might lose possession, but they're not high risk in the areas of the pitch.
No,
I don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely not. Yeah,
high risk of not making the person they're meant to be for.
Yeah.
But it's much worse when he's passing across the pitch and backwards when it goes
absolutely.
wrong.
I agree.
I'd much rather see him, attempting those sort of passes with regularity.
How'd you see it, Clive? Talk us through.
What, the goals? Or the Ozil Sanchez thing?
The Ozil Sanchez thing.
Well, Sanchez, I did have a little think about this, right? If people like to criticize him because he can be extremely wasteful in possession, right? But it's just to do what gives him his trick, what gives him his power, is the speed of his sort of backlift and how he goes through the ball, right? So some of the shots that he has, you wonder where the power comes from. He goes through the ball very, very fast, and he's very, very instant. So when you watch him closely, he just flashes through the ball. So when he makes some shake and bakey moves, he flashes it very, very quickly. Really instant. No thought, he sees it and he does it really, really quick. And that can sometimes, sort of lend itself to a bit of a loose technique. But when it comes off, it looks great. But the same thing when he shoots. When he shoots early, he shoots fast, and he flashes through the ball. And he gets more power than should come out of that body. I think we could all agree that, right? The goal of the cup final. I mean, where did that come from? Where did that come from? Where did that power come from? If you look at it closely, it's the speed of how he flashes through the ball. But that same technique, we're asking him to pass the ball in that technique. And it is very hit and miss. And when it hits, we all love it. When it misses, we all think he's wasteful and he wastes loads of energy running back, etc. That goal reminded me of the goal at Everton in the Invincible year when Bergkamp got it, sat deep and waited for Vieira to run around. Run around. You're going to get there, mate. You're going to get there. Okay, I'll put it through now and I'll go around the keeper. It reminded me a little bit of that, and it is, nailed it. That is a very much an Arsenal goal. But again, I go back to the part about emotion. When we feel comfortable in the game, when we feel secure, when we feel emotionally secure, then we play. When we are lacking in confidence, those movements are not happening. We've all watched the horseshoe football. We've all watched no one playing the ball through the line because they're scared to get shouted at, because we know we're brittle defensively. And I cannot say enough that extra defender, that extra man, that extra pragmatism, that extra respect for the opposition has also given our forwards time to score. We're not coming from behind. We're not chasing games in unstructured manner. We're now got time to score, and that takes the pressure off them and allows them to be more confident. And the more confident they are, the more we're going to see Arsenal football. And I just think it's a masterstroke. I just wish it came about 2 months earlier.
Well, the funny thing is, he said they've been training. They've been doing it on the training pitch, but he obviously didn't feel confident enough.
Weeks,
he didn't feel confidence enough to actually to do it. And I do wonder. I mean, Wenger is obviously he's an offensive-minded coach, you know, and he did say that, you know, playing this system, you know, he is defensive, and you could tell that he was trying to find a way to make us more offensive. You can tell that he was going through his head. How do I get this ball? How do we get up the field? How do we engage? If it's Giroud, how do we engage him more? And when Giroud was in this formation earlier on, everyone was like, no, it doesn't work with him. You know, he's static. He's this, he's that. But Saturday, it worked. It worked a treat. You know, he got his 2 goals because we were closer to him. And as Clive has continued said this evening, you know, the 5 at the back or the 3 at the back has allowed more liberation from our forward players, and you know, do you see this as finally a formation that benefits Giroud? Because I know earlier on in the piece, when we, you know, at the beginning of this run, when he was playing up front, I think it was Burrow, and he just looked all at sea. He was isolated, he was lost, and everyone was saying this formation doesn't suit him, and I was saying I think it can. It just hasn't. But finally, it seems as though Wenger's found a way of getting him more in the game and it benefiting him. I mean, I'm going to leave it to you guys to explain, discuss, or debate, whatever. How do you see it? Start with you, then.
Ollie G. I mean, when we look at him, I mean, let's be honest, he scored over 80 goals in the last 4 seasons. He's no mug. He really is no mug, and he gets a lot of unfair stick, I think, because a lot of the time we do not play to his strengths, and how you, I mean, for me, Olivier Giroud is at his best with his back to goal, linking play, and when he's making a run in the 6-yard box, like Dave said earlier, and he's such a good player at doing that, and it's such a hard skill. Even though it seems easy and they look like easy goals, they're not easy goals, and without us retaining width and without us getting to the byline, Giroud really does get isolated, and without any runners from deep. And I mean, earlier on in the season when we saw him centre forward at times, you'd see him play and you'd have 2 deep line midfielders. You'd have no wingers. So what's Giroud got? He's got no one running on him. He's got no one running beyond him. He's got no one getting to the byline, cutting it back. And he's almost completely nullified. And again, he's another player who seems to have a new lease of life, and he's got his 2 goals, and we're going, Giroud can't start games, and the next thing you know, Giroud's away at Stoke, one of the toughest places we can go, and he's bullying people again. He's looking stronger, he's looking more confident, he's making runs, he's got players to link with, and that's Olivier Giroud, and
he's tapping the badge.
Exactly, he's giving it one of them.
He's fighting Nacho when he scored a goal.
Yeah, he's having a little tear up with his own players for once. He's reinvigorated, and it's nice to see players like that. But we all know it's all come too late, and I just don't know whether this formation is a flash in the pan. And the more and more I see it, the better I feel about it, and the more the players just look so comfortable. And Giroud definitely can benefit from it. And like you said there about Middlesbrough, when this formation first started playing, I was looking at it and I was watching Giroud up there and I was thinking, my God, this is never going to work with Giroud. The poor geezer, he's so isolated, there's no one near him, and we're growing, we're learning, and he loved it. He loved it against Stoke, and he give them a bit of a run around up there, and I just think Giroud isn't the ultimate player we can have up there, but if we've got a man like Olivier Giroud in our squad and he can do things like that, then what's the problem? Do you know what I mean?
Well, the more confident the wing backs are in the solid 3, as every week they've got further and further forward and more.
Exactly, yeah.
And in the past, it was a frustration for Giroud, I think. And I've written about this loads of times, that, you know, you can't get the best out of Giroud, as you intimated, unless you're getting behind the fullback and getting crosses in across the near post, in a lot of cases. And, you know, when we've had Alexis left and Walcott right, they've just been cutting in. The only width has come from the fullbacks, and when they were fullbacks. The difference is now we've got basically a left and a right midfield player, or call them wingbacks, call them what you will. So it's a totally different formation, and we are encouraging those 2 players to get beyond the fullback and get crosses in. We haven't done that for years. we've done it occasionally, but it's not been a team policy. It's not been a Wenger policy. And now we've got a formation that absolutely encourages that to be the main outlet for the attack half the time. So, of course, it's going to benefit him. But equally, Welbeck's got other attributes that Giroud hasn't. It's a massive decision.
Yeah, and I was going to say that. I was going to come on to Clive with that. I mean, I was saying that, the formation finally seems to have suits Giroud, but obviously in this squad, you want it to be Welbeck. And, do you think Wenger's finally found the key to unlock? He's actually unlocked the formula that actually makes us a little bit more offensive in this situation, in this formation, Clive.
It depends what you...
Go on, sorry.
Sorry, mate. It depends what he wants to do, right? So Dave nailed it there, right? So, do you remember the Borough game? There was probably a couple of players that had shockers that day. It was probably Monreal, and everyone said he's not a wing back, right? And it was Giroud. And really, the two are linked. Well, Monreal he just got his starting position wrong. And what happened is that both are sort of wide men. The Orcs was the other one of the day. And what the Orcs does, he picks it up from deep and he beats a man, then he goes forward. And Giroud finds it hard to take his position from that. Okay, he can be on the end of the crosses if he beats his man, but that's risk versus reward. This is all about cause and effect, right? So what happened yesterday, we had two wing backs much higher up the pitch. And that simplifies Giroud's role. He's got to fight for the first ball. And then he's got to turn around and he's got to look how the play builds. He knows where it's going. It's going wide. And then if you're telling what his number one skill is his movement in the box, his first time finish. He's a one-touch finisher in the box. That's what he is, and that's where he gets all of his goals from. Whereas before, he was playing with sort of Ozil and Sanchez with a little inverted curled crosses, where he's having to generate power, either knock it down for somebody else. And it's very difficult for him to influence.
Or hit on the turn, yeah.
Yeah, it's very difficult for him to influence. Now, Welbeck the role, and this comes back to, I keep thinking about the cup final. Welbeck's role is what he does is he keeps people honest and he stretches teams and he stretches them long and creates space in a different way. And depending on the team, I thought Stoke were thick. I thought they really were thick. They didn't recognise the striker they were playing against. They were scared of the movement and the ferocity and intensity we had in centre midfield. And knowing that they were going to recycle it wide. So what the defenders did is they looked after themselves. Shawcross looked after himself. So you know what? They're not going to play it past me. I'm going to drop deep. And Giroud's thinking, well, the closer you get me to your goal, mate, that's a problem, right? So when he's close to goal, that's it. He's in charge in the box. Now, Welbeck Chelsea are not that stupid. Chelsea are going to press, they're going to press up on Giroud. And this is why I think for the cup final, I talk about big space players and small space players. Giroud's a small space player in the box, one touch, bang, goal. Bodies hanging off of him, people falling down, bang, goal. Doesn't change him. He's like a bulldozer. Chelsea, start the game. We have to threaten the green grass. We have to, otherwise they're going to press up on us and they're going to wear us down. So I do think it's horses for courses, right? So Giroud's come in because of the wing backs, and they've revitalised him because now on the cross ball he looks tremendous.
Very quickly,
that's why we started Theo over Giroud 2 years ago, isn't it? Same reason.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They didn't know what to do, did they? First minute, Theo down left hand side. They were like eyes popping out of that guy's head in the right 10.5. Right, over. Game's over because they're now in trouble on the back foot.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
Sorry, just want to go back to you. I mean, how do you feel seeing Ramsey come on in that in the false 10 or 3-10 role? Do you think? I mean, because I said that I'd like to see him unburdened with the defensive responsibility. I don't think he's that great I actually don't think Xhaka's that great defensively. I don't think their first thought is how do I make sure I block the space behind me? How do I make sure I shield my defender? I think both of them are deficient in that respect. But seeing Ramsey come on and playing, given a free role basically to go up and come back and do as he pleases, because he's got the insurance of Xhaka and Coquelin and obviously the three defenders further behind. How did that make you feel? I mean, did you see another way that we could play with Ramsey?
Well, certainly we saw Ramsey used that way by Wales at the Euros, but I'd say if you spoke to 95% of Arsenal fans, they would all want to see him in that position. But I think he's played very, very well alongside Xhaka, and I think the balance of the side around him has shown that both of them players, although they're not the best defensively, we were fine. Against Man United, we were fine. I mean, Middlesbrough away, we had odd moments, but I also think one of Ramsey's biggest strengths in his game is the ability to break from deep and make untraceable runs. And I just think it would be interesting to see him play in that role as one of the 210s for a while to see if he is effective, because I don't think he's the most creative footballer in the world, but what he is a very, very intelligent runner and a man that can cause chaos by his movement. And like we saw at Middlesbrough, he's run from deep and he's nodded down to Ozil. And like we saw in midweek, he's a fantastic runner, unopposed at the far post. He's got the knowledge to head it back across to Giroud. They come from deeper areas when he's playing central midfield. And like we saw, I mean, a perfect example, obviously he was playing in that role behind, but as soon as Ozil gets the ball there, Ramsey's gone. Ramsey's gone in and they can't stop him. And Johnson's tried to match him up. And as Clive alluded to earlier, he's stronger, he's fitter, he's having game time. Brushed Johnson aside, kept hold of the ball. What a delivery. I mean, it's probably the only place he could have put it that Giroud would have scored, because if it was a yard ahead of him, he wouldn't have got there. If it was a yard behind, the defender would have cleared it. And it was very instinctive. But
he had a picture, didn't he? He had a picture in his mind.
He did have a picture. And that's the thing about Aaron Ramsey. He's very underrated for his footballing IQ. I like his intelligence of the game. He can see things developing. He sees a picture. And he knows that if I run here, that's going to create a space here. And if I've gone there, then he's going to be there. And Ozil and Sanchez play like that. They've got a picture well ahead of their next pass. And I think Ramsey is on a level with that, with his movement. And on the ball, I don't think he's as creative. So it'd be interesting to see long run. But I mean, me and Clive discussed it, that definitely is a possibility that if you play Ramsey in that role just behind, do you go really, really big and spend big money on a partner for Xhaka and find that man in the summer and let Ramsey be a rotational position up in that role? But you know me, and I've always cried out, I like Ramsey in a 2. We've had battles for a long, long time about it, but I think he's performed well in a 2, but I'm also not stupid enough to turn around and go, no, he has to play in a 2, because we know what he can do going forward. We've seen him that season with the goals, but I think he's got a lot to offer the team, and if he can stay fit, whether it's deeper, whether it's coming on near the end of games, he's a weapon, and he's something that we need to use, because he's a space player, and like Clive keeps saying, he's not a small space man. He is somewhere that will eat up ground, drag defenders out of the way, and cause carnage. And I like that. I like that in a footballer. And he's a risk taker, like you said earlier, G. He will make things happen.
Clive?
No, he loves his Ramsey, right? And I know what, when you see him fit, he's a different. You have to take him seriously. You can't just have one-eyed agendas and things like that. You have to take him seriously. You're not a football. You're not looking at football if you can't recognise what you saw yesterday when he came on the pitch, right? Because his movement was wonderful, and he looked really strong, looked really physical. But it depends how you see football, right? So if you think about, I said this the other day actually, the first second of the game at Southampton, first second, touchline, ball played into Ramsey, back to goal, no look, Cruyff turn, lost it, went down the left wing, crossed it, Mustafi cleared it on the near post. It depends what you want. It depends if you want risk-taking in the centre of the pitch or you want risk-taking in the last third. Again, I'm a pragmatist by nature. I like to see people dominate a smaller space in the centre midfield. I like somebody... Again, this thing about Chelsea, the one thing that we need, and this is why I don't discount Coquelin from this game, or I don't discount Oxlade-Chamberlain playing centre midfield. I really don't.
Say that. I was going to ask you that.
Because what Chelsea tests you on is recovery speed. They use 2 players who loiter on the centre circle when we have the ball. They use Pedro and they use Hazard, and they loiter. And they loiter on the counter, and if they use Willian, well, he's just as good, right? So, and they spring up pace. They use Costas the first ball in, if it comes to him, and they spring really quickly, and they test your recovery speed. And if you're going to tell me that our number one weakness, especially in a 4-2-3-1, is recovery speed. In a 3-4-3 or whatever you want to call it, 3-4-2-1, that's less exposed because we've got 3 one-on-one defenders at the back. But if I'm looking for an upgrade for some games, I think we need somebody with recovery speed in the centre midfield to track their two danger men. And that's what teams are doing. They're man-marking Hazard and they're nullifying Chelsea out. We're playing Chelsea in the cup final. Are we prepared to win it? Are we prepared to pick a team to do it? Are we prepared to man-mark them like Jose did with Phil Jones or with Ande Herrera? He did it twice in the cup game. That was a sign he messed up because they went down 10 men. But in the league game, he managed to do something that was a bit different. Right? So, it's up to us. It's what you want to do. But let's accept that there are some good things in the club, but we need to recognise the strengths of the opposition and then pick a team for that. And I think, let's see what happens. But yeah, you can't deny Ramsey's doing it. He needs to produce though, Woz. He needs to produce. He hasn't scored a league goal since Tottenham away, mate. And he scored 2 goals in the FA Cup. And he shouldn't be a memory. We all know he can do it. But you know what? He had 2 highlights yesterday, and the one was the goal. And if you notice on the goal, the assist, it was one touch. He did it. He didn't shake him back again. It was instant. Didn't look, gone. What happened on the shot? He's come inside. He's laid him on his ass, and he had one more touch. Then he took the shot. That one more touch allowed Butland to set himself and save it. Right. So he needs to have more confidence to score. Once he starts scoring, he won't stop, and we'll all look at him differently. But he needs to score. You know, he's in the areas. He needs to score. No league goals in the Premiership season. I know he's been injured a lot. It's not enough. He needs to score. And then we'll all look at him differently. And when he breaks forward, our hope index will be a lot higher. Do you know what I mean?
I completely agree with you. He does need the goal, but let's be honest. The Middlesbrough game, he was the key that broke him down. And that we didn't really look like scoring until he's run and unselfishly laid it off to Ozil. But 100% like you're saying with that shot, I think a lot of it is confidence.
It's coming, isn't it?
It's coming, mate.
It's coming, yeah.
Well, you know when it'll happen. He'll probably get one against Sunderland, and then he'll
be in the cup final.
Hopefully, mate. It'd be nice if he could. You know, you'd never hear the end of me. I wouldn't even shut up. He scored in one cup final. You can't imagine how bad it'd be. But yeah, it's not about Aaron Ramsey. I'm delighted he's picking up some form again, and I'm glad he's getting fit. But it's a lot bigger picture because he's not the only player that's benefiting from this system, and everyone is. But he's just another byproduct of this 3-4-2-1, and he is enjoying his football. He's getting fitter. He's looking stronger, as are many players, and these players that. Probably a month ago, we were all saying they're scandalous, they're terrible, what they're doing at the club, get them out, sell him. We only want 5 players next season, a whole new squad. All of a sudden, everyone's going, hang on a minute, he's quite a good footballer, isn't he? He's all right, yeah, that Monreal, he's doing quite well, yeah, and Oxlade-Chamberlain, oh, look what he can do. It's just funny, isn't it? As soon as you've got a system, we're implementing it, players are loving it, they're enjoying their football. Why has this happened so late? I hate football, I hate it.
Biggest losers are Alex Iwobi and Theo Walcott, of course. We haven't even mentioned they won't get near the cup final. So one of them probably won't even make the bench. Who'd have thought that at the beginning of the season?
Yeah. Well, you know what? So, can I come in there, G? Because Dave's he's raised a great point, right? So Alex Iwobi, I think, has got a future in this system. He definitely has because he's a rounded footballer. But what's happened, really, this is a really big concern. We've got Theo Walcott, our 3rd highest paid player in the club, and he was tried in this system, and he didn't adapt his game. He played exactly the way he would do in a 4-2-3-1, and he didn't have the rounded ability to adapt to it. And he's not been seen since. And I'll tell you what, that's a concern.
Where would you play him in this system, though? He hasn't got the creativity of Ozil or Alexis, so where are you going to play him?
He's boxed himself up, hasn't he, Dave? He said, I'm not a centre-forward. Well, actually...
Before that, he said he was.
Before they said he was, he said, I'm a right winger. So now we don't really play with right wingers. We've got Bellerin. In that game he did play, I think him and Bellerin, their heat map was almost identical, wasn't it?
Got on each other's way.
I was just waiting, because he wants to go out to win. He couldn't adapt his game. He hasn't got enough layers. And I tell you, it was really highlighted. Now, Iwobi now has got those layers. He's inexperienced, we know that. But he's played left, he's played right, he's played centre.
He could play where Alexis or Ozil are playing.
Yeah. He could easily. He's got a future in his system. Where Theo's got to now look at himself and think, you know what? Rather than bring on Giroud first up, they should bring in on me on the break at centre forward. But because I've now restricted my options, I'm not getting a sniff. And I think he could be, expendable in the summer. I did
say to you, Dave, after the game, that this formation kind of exposes who those kind of individuals that actually aren't versatile enough to change their game.
Of course. Specialists, mate.
We've got too many specialists, and I think you said once upon a time, I heard you, Clive, quite recently, you spoke to Arsene Wenger, and he said that he looks for specialists, a certain key attribute in players. I think now it's kind of moving towards. I'm sure there are still places for specialists in certain situations, but now where we've got coaches that like to change situations, mid-game and so on and so forth. They want players that are modern players are now versatile. You've got to be versatile. You've got to be intelligent enough to.
Got to be rounded. You've got to be rounded.
Yeah, you've got to be. You've got to be.
You've got to be rounded technically. You know what was? There was a debate. I had a debate with my Chelsea mates about Willian and Willian versus Theo Walcott. Let me tell you, mate. I argued for Theo Walcott till about 15 pints it took to get to win that argument, right? So
you won that argument.
I don't know if I did. I can't actually
15
remember.
days more like.
I can't actually remember, but I felt pretty good anyway. Right? So, but actually, let's think this through now. Willian versus Theo Walcott. You know what? There is no competition. Willian can play left. He can play out. He can play in the middle. He can play on the right. The way he receives the ball, he's not far off in pace. He can shoot. He can shoot with his left foot. He can shoot with his right foot. He takes free kicks. You look at yourself. You think, hold on a minute here. Has Theo worked hard enough at his game? Why can't he take free kicks? Marcus Rashford taking free kicks at 19 for Manchester United in a European semi-final. What are you doing, mate, to earn your money? What are you doing to lift your game? And when the new manager comes in, or he's not a new manager, but when the manager changes the formation, can you adapt? Have you worked on your left foot, receiving it on your back foot? No, you haven't. Can you go in and out on your left side? Can you come inside on the right flank and chop inside onto your left foot and shoot bottom corner? Well, you did it once at Birmingham many years ago, but how often have you done it since? He needs to work at his game to stay at a club like Arsenal. But you know what? He hasn't had to up until now. But I wonder what's going to happen to him.
Ironically, when we looked like we were going to change to the 4-3-3 or the 4-1-4-1, like the Saints away game in the FA Cup, he looked fantastic.
Yeah,
he's a specialist. So who knows? It may change again.
That's my favourite game of the season. That was.
Yeah,
he's
too.
A specialist. He's a specialist. I wonder, just briefly. So, Clive, little particular bird tells me you've got a plan.
Oh, what?
The master plan. We want to hear this. We know. If someone get Arsene on here, let him listen, and we can find out exactly how we're going to win this cup final. And you'll have to let me know what's going to end up happening, because I want to know how drunk I'm going to have to get, Clive.
I haven't. I'll be going to the cup final actually. So I haven't got a master plan. It depends how you want to play. I sort of touched on it earlier, right? So if you're Chelsea, what do you want to see? Right, so you want to see Giroud for starters, right? You want to see Giroud.
Yeah.
You don't want Arsenal to have the ability to transition on us consistently, right? So I actually don't want Arsenal to boss possession, because I think Chelsea they run into big spaces very, 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 very well. I think we should be really, really compact and spring with an eye on if we lose it.
That's exactly what they're going to want to do as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's exactly what they're going to want to do.
In their own half, and the ball will just stay in the
so I just feel that we mustn't go in there and say that we're Arsenal, we're going to play the horseshoe around you, and we're less prone to the overload in wide areas now because we've got another defender. I am a little bit concerned about the youth of Rob Holding. I know he's been really, really great, but he's going through some major new experiences. And are we prepared to unleash him in front of Diego Costa? Because if you're Conte, what are you going to do? You're going to put Costa, you're going to double up Costa and Hazard right onto Rob Holding's side. And
so what are you going to do then, Clive? You're going to put Gabriel in there?
Well, it's all about managing, right? What would you do if you were Conte? We play Holding right, Mustafi in the middle, and Koscielny left. What would you go down Koscielny Monreal's side, or would you go down Bellerin Holding side?
The thing is, didn't he play against Man United? Holding. Let's see. Man United.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. Didn't he hold his own against Rashford or Martial and so on and so forth? I know Martial's a lot younger in terms of experience.
I'm just saying to you, what would you do if you were Conte?
Yeah,
What would you do?
You would try and isolate him. You would try and find a weak spot and exploit it. But I'm
Yeah,
not sure that Gabriel is any less of a weak
neither.
spot.
I can't trust him, right? The disparity between Man City performance, where he looked amazing, to Tottenham, where he looked like he's like a scared rabbit. How can we trust him? Right?
Well, the alternative is you play.
He didn't play against Tottenham though.
Because Castell must have.
Holding didn't play against.
No,
Tottenham.
mate, I'm talking about Gabriel.
Okay, Gabriel. Sorry, go on.
Well, you can play Nacho, can't you? And play Gibbs on the left if you really don't.
I
You
think
can
that.
go back to do that.
I think that kind of. I know Gibbs was he had a decent game against Southampton, but I think that kind of nullifies us a little bit if you take Nacho out and put him.
No, I wouldn't do it either. I'm just saying if you're that concerned.
I'm just saying to you that's what Conte's going to do, right? He's going to. Their talent is on their inside left, right?
Hazard.
Our talent is on our inside left, right? So it's going to be a game of right channels.
I would feel exactly the same. I would feel exactly the same on our left though against Moses and Cahill. Aspilicueta plays on the right, doesn't he?
Yeah. So it's going to be, and that's why I go for Bellerin. This is why I go for Bellerin in this game. This is why, just for the extra defender, I just think. And he's going to be fit, right? And Dave, Wembley finds you out, doesn't it? If you got a twinge, mate, it goes at Wembley immediately. The whole stress of the day, everything like that. We're not sure of Oxlade-Chamberlain. And by the way, he's my favourite player. So if he's fit, I want him to play, and he plays really well at Wembley. But if he's not fit, he's not right. Do you see what I mean? It's just not right. And that's
a bit like a repeat of 2015 when Ox and Giroud both come on to score at the end of the game.
Yeah, could well be.
Ox came on to make the goal for Giroud.
So you're saying, everyone thinks that we should be a bit more pragmatic at Wembley, play again the similar sort of way that we played against Man City, and prioritise, as Jane likes to call it, prioritise counter-attacking. So we've got certain players that are intelligent enough to exploit.
Stay in the game. Mm-hmm. The thing about the City game, and Dave, you were there, right? Your hope grew as the game went on. Yeah, and at the end of that game, the last quarter of that game, we were in charge. Yeah. We were in charge physically. We were in charge in the duels. But what we don't do against Chelsea, we don't stay in the game long enough. You've got to make it a 25-minute game towards the end. You must be in it. You must stress them out. They're never under any stress when they play us, apart from when we smashed them. The rest of the time, we're always chasing from 2 goals down. And then we lose our structure, and then we look like 3-year-olds.
The difference is, though, you always fancy you're going to score against Man City's defence.
Yeah,
I mean, they're a totally different kettle of fish.
They are.
I think it's a case of outscoring. I don't think we're not going to win this game by shutting up shop.
It's not by shutting up shop. I think it's just making sure that we are not over ambitious. Is that? I know it sounds the same.
Well, I think we're better than that in the first 20-25 minutes now.
Exactly. Just take it in chunks, right? Take it in 10-minute chunks. And then you build it up. Then you start. I always say with Arsenal, we're very, very talented. Our talent matches anybody's. But what we do is in big games against big teams, we chase games because we are not pragmatic enough. We're too open. And that changes, and that makes us look at the game differently.
It comes from the manager, unfortunately.
It comes from the manager. It absolutely does, right? It doesn't mean we've made 9 defenders. It just means that we take the game in 10-minute chunks. If the opportunity is there, you take it. And if it's not, you breathe and you tuck in and you hold. That's what everyone does to us.
It's like that game against Man City 2 years ago when the players spoke to Wenger, before the game when we'd let in 5 and 6 and 4 against all the other big sides. And that's exactly what we did. We just pragmatically played that game and just worked our way into it.
And we all remember it now, don't we? We don't remember some of the early parts that are boring. We remember the last half hour. It's fantastic, right? So Man City was a tremendous template for how to play Chelsea.
Okay,
tremendous.
So let me ask you a question. You guys a question. The central 2 in midfield. Are you playing Xhaka and Ramsey and asking Xhaka to sit deep, as we saw against Stoke, asking Xhaka to sit deep and then Ramsey to be the stagger a bit further ahead? Or do you want them to be closer together so that you're shielding the defence against the Hazard, Pedro, and Costa triumvirate? Because they will, try and find those kind of creases between our defence and midfield. Or do you play Coquelin? who's a bit more of a destroyer, as we would like to call him, a seek and destroyer, or do you play El Neni? Who's the midfield two?
You won't play El Neni.
No, not a chance.
I'll let someone have a go.
Go on, boys.
I've got a thought.
I will. El Neni could go in the bin for that game. I don't want him in the bin. If I'm brutally honest. Look, I love Ramsey, but this is going to be. It's such a tough thing because we're asking Coquelin to sort of almost do a Conte role, and if we can win the ball high, but then we're going to be sat in, and we need extra runners on the counter, and it's such a difficult decision to make. But it's a lovely place to be in, and I think the majority of people probably would go Coquelin. If Ramsey's fit and he has another 2 games and he continues to impress, with my own personal bias, because of the levels I believe that Ramsey can achieve, I would play Ramsey, but that's just me. And I could completely understand starting Coquelin, and I can actually see now, after watching the weekend, I can see with this system and the balance it creates, the pros to having Coquelin in there, and it's a massive game, and it does, for me, it comes down to the manager. This is where you do earn your money, because like Clive said, we'll match any team for talent, but you got to get it right. You got to get it tactically right, and that's why. Normally I'm the most opinionated geezer, and I know my team. I want this, and if not that, I'm going to be fuming. But I'll tell you something.
Never noticed.
I'll tell you now, I ain't got a Scooby, and I'll take it in my stride. I'm going to turn up to Wembley with my 10-minute stopwatches on my wrist, like Clive said. I'll take it 10 minutes at a time, and the mental breakdown is going to happen. But I don't know. I'd have Ramsey. I really would, but
I would too, actually.
It all depends how it goes, and I think Coquelin is I don't know.
Dave, let me bring over to Dave then. Dave, is there any argument for having Oxlade-Chamberlain in the centre if he makes it fit, if he's fit and he can start? Do you play Oxlade-Chamberlain? So as Clive has alluded to, we're going to have people that need to be running in reverse. Able to run with your Contes, run with your Hazards, and so on and so forth.
No.
So who's your two?
Ramsey will play.
Yeah.
Ramsey will play, yeah.
And I think he should play. And I think he can do this, and I wrote about it, and Clive knows what I think. He can be the Kante role. He just needs to understand the bite-sized chunks of the game. And if for the first half hour, when we're still in the game, if he just sits deep, helps Xhaka out, be the legs, be the covering midfield player, do the job. He's fitter, he intercepts better, he tackles better. He's got the legs if he's fully fit. Take it in bite-sized chunks, and later in the game, when it's spread and people are tired, that's when we see Ramsey at his best. Yeah. That's what should happen. Coquelin, is a great plan B, and he may well come on, and he may well come on actually. I think if like we saw in 2014 with Ozil, we never know with Ozil. He might be brilliant, he might be not effective at all. So you could push Ramsey further up the pitch and bring Coquelin on and take Ozil off. I can see that happening if it's not going our way. But no, definitely Xhaka and Ramsey for me, which will probably surprise everyone who knows.
I like this. I like listening to you two talk about Ramsey like this.
I know, but the difference he's playing like it now. You wanted him to play when he hasn't been playing like it. That's
very true, mate. But that's where I'm a bit narrow-minded, because I'm seeing the Aaron Ramsey I know can be there rather than the one that's actually been playing.
It's taken 3 years.
Yeah, but let's be honest, mate. 18 months he was playing right wing. Then he played alongside Flamini. Then he played alongside Flamini in an unbalanced system. And now we've got a system, we've got a structure, we've got protection, we've got freedom, we've got creativity, and we've got a Xhaka who can play the ball from deep. And like you said, if Ramsey switched on, sits in the early part of the game, does his job, does the legs, Aaron Ramsey is as good as anyone at it. He really is. And you said it, and I'm smiling.
You can't deny it. What he needs to do, and Dave, I did read Dave's piece that before he posted it, right, and I thought it was really, really clever thinking. All he's got to do is reduce the space he dominates. Right? That's all he's got to do. And not run in straight lines, but also run laterally as well. I'm not dismissing him. But if he can just control that area, he's a marathon runner. You know what? Matic can't run with him. Right? The player he should be, me and Dave debate this, right? But the player he should be looking at is Cesc Fabregas. Right? He's metronomic. He does not stop moving. His head's spinning. He wants to feel the ball. He moves it. He moves position. If you're trying to model his game on anybody, you should model it on him. He can do the Kante job for Arsenal, which we need him to be a little bit more defensive in the early part of that game. But once he's up to fitness, he does do two people's jobs. Right? It's simple as that.
Clive, you know what you said about Fabregas there? It's a great point. When Cesc left the club, he done an interview.
I thought it'd be natural.
No, yeah. But Cesc done an interview, and when he left, he said about Aaron Ramsey, and he said, "You're in good hands. This is the guy to take over the mantle."
Yeah, but Cesc was playing more of the 10 role then, wasn't he? I think Clive's talking about the Cesc role now.
Yeah,
well, he sort of was. Yeah, I completely understand what you're saying, the Cesc role now, and I do agree with that. But the way he was saying about Ramsey is that in his interview, he alluded to him finding the space and being very intelligent on the ball, and he was going to grow into be a great player. And obviously, unfortunately, he's had setbacks. But
do you know what happened though was, and this is where what happened was, his success criteria has changed, right? And he was more of a midfielder that thought about midfield. But when he became a goal scorer, he thinks more about goals. And what's happening, and the reason why he stopped scoring, mate, I'll tell you this right now, the reason why he stopped scoring is the timing of his runs. He is so keen to get forward, he's there too soon. When you're there too soon, you're a standstill body to a big defender who can move you. When you arrive late and you're shooting from the edge of the area like he did at Preston, that's a much harder person to track. When you're running off blind shoulders on diags rather than straight to centre forward past Giroud to the penalty spot, that's easier to stop. Diags off the shoulders into wider areas where you can deliver, or you arrive late. The timing he had in 2013, 2014 is better than today's. And that's if I was coaching him, that's what I'd be saying to him.
Middlesbrough and Southampton, he timed them runs to perfection, didn't he?
I tell you what people haven't picked up.
It's coming though, isn't it? The time is coming.
I'll tell you what people haven't picked up is the growing understanding between Alexis and Ramsey's runs. No one's really picked up on it yet.
I agree.
It might be.
Yeah, they hate each other, but they love each other. They're on a level.
You watch. They're on the same wavelength. Recently, they've been on the same wavelength. You know, and that's going to help Ramsey. It's a shame that Alexis is going to leave soon, and that we're not really going to see that come to fruition. Yeah. But I've noticed in the last 5-6 weeks that's been happening more and more. They're on a wavelength. They are building a relationship, and people will hopefully see that come to fruition. But I think you're right, Clive. I think he's got to be. Ali's a brilliant example to use because he's punctual. He times his runs beautifully, and Eriksen finds him, and it's all about that relationship.
I think it's just because he's trying too hard. He's trying too hard to establish himself. Now he's fitter. I think the timing will come. I do think the timing will come.
I agree.
Cool. All right, listen, guys, I think we've got to wrap it up and leave it here. I want to thank everybody for coming on. It's been great chatting to you guys once again. I don't think we're going to do this again before the end of the season. So quickly, Clive, top 4 FA Cup, one or the other or both? What do you reckon?
Well, West Ham chucked it, didn't they? When they put Noble, sorry, I can't do it in one word, you know me, right? But when they put Noble and Kiate in for operations, they chucked it, right? So that was them. But Middlesbrough won't chuck it. I'm not giving up. But FA Cup, very 50-50. I'm not sure, mate. I'm not sure, to be honest.
Warren?
Tony Pulis masterclass against City. Then they're going to bottle it in the last game, and we'll finish above City. And Liverpool lose to Middlesbrough. So we'll finish third, and we'll win the cup final 9-0. And I'll see you next season.
Finally, Dave.
We're not going to get in the top 4, and I can't wait for the cup final. That's all I'm going to say.
All right.
Yeah, go on, Dave. Go on, my son.
All right, listen. I hope you guys have all enjoyed listening to these three prattle on about the Arsenal. I want to thank you all for coming on. Make sure you tune in on all the channels. Do subscribe, do like, do comment. I hope you enjoyed it. I've been Giles, your host. This has been a Gooner Ramble. Up your Arsenal.
Football has its ups and downs. You can't win every match, but you can win every bet. Start your free trial and earn £30 risk-free today at oddswatchdog.co.uk.